Good evening and welcome. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. As the Prime Minister speaks on television for the second time in 2 days, we look at the common problems that citizens are facing as the lockdown gets serious. On the show, some of the biggest names in digital commerce in India, the Kerala Finance Minister on how they've already been doing direct cash transfers. That's another key issue when you look at what the economic steps that the government needs to take at this stage should be. And also top cops maintaining the quarantine. This is what you will see in the next 1 hour. We have to win this battle in 21 days, says the Prime Minister again, repeats his basic message. Social distancing during COVID is our last hope to save lives. India's COVID numbers are up 606 cases. There are now 10 deaths. The number of cases in India has been doubling in 4 days. Workers of essential home delivery services are beaten up by the police for doing their jobs. The promoter of Big Basket on the show tonight on how his workers are performing an essential service at great peril to themselves. With people stuck at home, there is a huge strain on India's digital infrastructure. Now India's digital industry agrees that all companies will immediately adopt measures including dropping HD streaming to only SD content until the 14th of April. Another special interview coming up, how an Inspector General ranked officer in Kasaragod, which has the maximum number of COVID-19 cases in Kerala, has come up with a particular app that helps him get the live location of those individuals under quarantine. Well, let's begin this program by putting it in perspective on where India stands vis-a-vis what China was at a similar stage and what the United States is presently. What we are trying to do now is take a look at trajectories of China, of Italy, and of India and the United States. And here is where it's worrying, as we'll point out. Though the absolute numbers for India are a fraction of what it's been for the United States, Italy or China, the trajectory is still very high. So let's just keep changing these numbers and let me explain these numbers. Go to the next one as well. Now the bottom line that we are trying to show over here is, first let's look at the colors. Now India is yellow right in the bottom, green is the United States, red is China and blue is Italy. Now this basically tells you that the United States is on a far worse trajectory than China's. The United States is on a far, which is the US is green, and just look at that trajectory, it's far, far worse than what China's was. Now China is in red, but remember China, as you can see on the top over there, starts ending that curve, starts making that curve shallower and therefore fights back, whereas the US is on an upward spiral. Now the story is Italy's growth rate is still not as bad as China's, but remember Italy has the maximum number of deaths. China had started to plateau soon. Now India, although way behind, is also on a steep growth trajectory, far worse than say what South Korea was. So the absolute numbers in India, a fraction, that's what gives us hope, as indeed the decision to go in for isolation, but that trajectory is high. The question is, where will India's trajectory eventually end up? Where will India's trajectory eventually end up? So let's take a look at what this trajectory links up to. The doubling of cases. Now, in the last 4 days, there's been a doubling of cases in India. Again, I need to repeat this. The numbers may not be very large, but the fact is that they are doubling at a fairly fast pace, very much along the lines of what we've seen in some other countries that we just saw in the other graphic. In the last 4 days, India cases up 118%. At 125, Maharashtra has the most cases. Now, more cases indicate that there is more testing which is taking place. People have said that that just has to happen so that you get a more realistic idea of the spread. Cases in Gujarat have gone up over 5 times, from 7 to 37. Cases in India have now been doubling in the last 4 days, 30 cases each in Delhi and Rajasthan. Cases in the largest state, Uttar Pradesh, rise by 42%. Delhi has 4 new cases in the last 4 days. So again, the trend is for something to go up, nowhere near plateauing out as yet. Let's just hope those absolute numbers, which is the bottom line, doesn't actually go up beyond a stage that we cannot deal with. Here's what the Prime Minister said for the second time in 2 days.
महाभारत का युद्ध 18 दिन में जीता गया था। आज कोरोना के खिलाफ जो युद्ध पूरा देश लड़ रहा है, उसमें 21 दिन लगने वाले हैं। हमारा प्रयास है इसे 21 दिन में जीत लिया जाए। साथियों, कोरोना वैश्विक महामारी को देखते हुए देश भर में व्यापक तैयारी की जा रही है, लेकिन हम सबके लिए, मेरे लिए भी और आपके लिए भी, ये ध्यान रखना है कि सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग, घरों में बंद रहना इस समय एकमात्र उपाय है, बेहतर उपाय है।
India's largest online supermarket, Big Basket, which operates in 27 cities, has had to temporarily shut down because despite the government's clearances during this COVID period, there are various problems in actually getting work done, transporting food supplies to customers. Joining us now, K. Ganesh, he is the promoter of Big Basket, Portia Medical and Fresh Menu. Thank you very much for being with us. Is it true that a lot of your workers were actually supplying food items, have been stopped, in some cases abused, in other cases pushed around? Have you faced issues like this?
Yes. So what has happened is, because of the sudden lockdown and full curfew that has been announced by the government, even though the government has done absolutely the right step and has been categorical in exempting essential services and have specified essential services like online delivery of goods, groceries, online delivery of food, medical services, medical equipment and medicine very clearly. That message has not gone down very clearly to the masses and to the people down the line. So the policeman in the actual street has not understood completely the message. So what is happening because of that is we are facing problems. There are multiple problems. One is actually reaching the end customer's home, be it Portia Medical with the medical equipment, or be it Big Basket with delivery. It's true for other services companies too, or Fresh Menu, the food delivery at home. All of that is just becoming impossible because the cop there does not know, A, it's an essential service. He has no mechanism as of now to be able to allow or disallow somebody. And in many cases, they have been harsh, they have beaten up people. In Kerala, unfortunately, one of our health workers who was going to service a patient was arrested. And in today's situation, we had to go and bail him out. And this is very sad for the person and for the company and the morale of the employees. But it is worse for the elderly 80-year-old patient he was going to attend. Who is going to answer to that patient? Grocery, I can live without milk for one day. But this we cannot do. So somewhere I laud the government, excellent initiative. I like the cooperation of government authorities, but given the paucity of time, as yet this has not percolated down to the cops, and which is what we are all working. Startups, industry bodies are working with the government to see how to ensure at the nook and corner of India, in the local gully, the policeman who stops a healthcare worker, a delivery boy, does so with some compassion, with some understanding, and at the minimum, not take the lathi and beat up the person.
Yeah. Mr. Ganesh, is it also true that a lot of your food supplies, milk supplies, for example, have had to be dumped? Fresh fruit may have had to be dumped because you just haven't been able to get it to your clients?
No, yes, absolutely. The wastage during these times are very high because even though the website is open, even though we want to do it, we are not able to reach the medicine or the material to the right end. But that is a smaller problem. I think right now what we are facing, and we are hoping and we are working with the government, and many in the government are are very responsive. It still needs implementation at the last mile. In the next 12 to 24 hours, if we can get essential services, A, to the last mile, being done without the cops or the policemen stopping it or being appreciative. Two, equally importantly, the supply chain. The interstate movement is not happening. We have to get the essential commodities into the city. Otherwise, how would we go? We have a situation where a top MNC pharma company is supposed to send us material for home chemotherapy. This is for a patient of Portia Medical. That material is not able to come because interstate courier services is very difficult. These are critical medicine. How do I do that? So I have multiple problems. How do I get it into my office or my city, interstate? Two, how do I ensure that last mile when the healthcare worker goes, he is able to actually reach the patient? And equally importantly and unfortunately, how to ensure that he is safe and not getting beaten up in doing the course of his duty.
Now, there was one question which had actually come in from somebody when we promote this interview, and this person says, after cancelling orders, Big Basket is refunding money back to Big Basket wallet, which users can use to pay again for future orders. But the app is shut down and is not taking an order, so users cannot order again, and two, users have no access to their money. Why doesn't Big Basket credit refunds back to bank accounts at this time of crisis? Why put it back in their wallet? How would you answer that, sir?
No, so I don't know the specific of the case, but that's perfectly fine. See, Big Basket has been operating for last 7 years. We are here to stay. This problem will go away. All the e-commerce companies are working with government to be able to set it right. I am hoping in 12 to 24 hours, hopefully the issue will get resolved and we are able to serve companies. Least of the issue is some amount of money of somebody there. Please reassure them it's completely safe. We will get the money out. There is no issue. All of us, right from the Prime Minister to government officials to media like you and we, are handling lot more critical issue. How to get essential services to the home, especially of elderly, especially of people who don't have anybody else to service them. So this is a very temporary issue, will get resolved. No issues. The money, money is safe. I'm personally guaranteeing.
All right. Mr. Ganesh, assuming that the issues do get sorted out, and you would be aware of what the government has now ordered, where they've encouraged individuals like you, Big Basket, other online services to actually reach out and provide that last leg connectivity to people's homes. Do you have a potential capacity problem as well? Because if you look at the numbers of people you would potentially be serving, it's incredibly large. So could there be a scenario in the future that you have people available for delivery, but they are already serving clients, and that you will not meet the demand in the next several weeks?
Yeah, so it's a very valid question. See, this is a black swan type of event. This is completely unanticipated event. Some industries like the airline industry, travel industry have got affected in the negative way.
Yeah.
Right? Some industries, like we are seeing with Big Basket, like with video conferencing, Zoom television and Skype and all those, and healthcare services like Portia Medical that go to the home and provide the services, have got positively impacted in the sense that the demand has gone up. So what has happened? There are people who have been reluctant to shop online, people who have been reluctant to get home healthcare online, home healthcare online, or go outside of hospital. These people have not adopted to consumer behavior change, but unfortunately this event has forced them to change the consumer behavior.
Right.
This is exactly like how demonetization forced people to accept digital payment. So there is a huge amount of demand. Some of them, when the things normalize, will go back, but some new users who have tasted the benefits and the goodness and the convenience of shopping online, healthcare at home, like video conferencing or teleworking, will not go back. So that's an irretrievable change of consumer behavior that has happened.
So tell us.
So it will happen.
So
what we need to do is we need to ensure that we are able to scale up our capacity to handle that. We will do that. But right now is, can I service everybody who is shut down, locked down, is staring at a 21-day lockdown, to help them with their medicine, with medical equipment, life critical equipment and foods and groceries.
Right. So, couple of points. Firstly, the Delhi police have had a meeting with e-commerce websites, including Big Basket and others. And they say that they're going to sort this out. Assuming that they sort it out, that passes have already been issued, by when would you be able to resume your services in the manner that you want in the 4 metros? For starters, can you give us some sort of time plan in each of the metros for starters? I know you service many more cities, but in the metros, how soon?
Yeah. So, firstly, I want you to be positive, not if the problem gets sorted out. It is when the problem gets sorted out. We have no choice with this lockdown to ensure that we are able to reach the people with essential goods and services. So I'm 100% sure it will get done. Unfortunately, this is something that has to be done locally, state by state, metro by metro. That's the unfortunate nature of the beast. I wish I could do a centralized warehouse or stocking or manufacturing and solve the problem. I cannot do it. So we are in touch with every individual state. You mentioned Delhi. We are in touch with Karnataka. We had a meeting yesterday. There is another meeting with Mr. Bhaskar Rao, Commissioner of Police, today at 7 o'clock. Karnataka Udyog Mitra had a meeting yesterday where it called. All the government people are working very, very hard, okay, right, to be able to do that.
So can I say 24 to 48 hours you'd be back up in the 4 metros? Can I say that?
Yes, I am 100% hoping, assuming that the teething problem, the speed at which we are working and engaging with the government and government is engaging, next 24 to 48 hours, we should have that. Meanwhile, I have only one request, which is for the media, for you, and you must have faced this in the past earlier. These people are risking their lives. They are not staying at home. They are going and serving the end consumer with a lot of hardship. Request, please don't beat them up. Challan them, return them back, ask them to go back, but don't beat them up. The amount of scare, amount of fear, amount of morale it creates, because if they run away, I will not be able to give you that particular service. I cannot deliver grocery myself, nor can I get, I'm not a doctor. I can't come and serve you at home if people are going to run away because their colleagues have been beaten up. I mean, the journalists must have seen this kind of thing earlier. That unfortunately is happening. If we can make the top government officials, top commissioner of police in all the states can make a blanket statement for next 48 hours, keep the lathi away, don't beat up whatever is the provocation, people who are trying to deliver goods or services.
Mr. Ganesh, your message is absolutely loud and clear, and this is going to be watched. I'm sure it's being watched as we speak by the police and others, and I do hope that your service gets online sooner than later. A lot of people in our big cities and small cities depend on people like you. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking to us.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Ganesh wasn't the only one who provides services to people at home. There are others who've had a very difficult time as well. Anand Narayanan, the CEO and co-founder of MedLife, joins us now. Mr. Narayanan, your workers were also beaten up today. Could you tell us what went wrong?
Yeah. So firstly, by the way, the incident happened yesterday. I think we had 2 or 3 incidents. Today, I think it's starting to get better. I think one of our delivery agents in Delhi was actually returning back to the fulfillment centers. He actually had his curfew pass, and unfortunately, I think he got beaten up by the police in a lathi charge, and actually got hurt, and he fell off his bike as well, which is a very unfortunate incident. In my mind, I think the police are trying to do their best, but I think the one very important thing is actually not to have violence against the last mile delivery person. MedLife delivers medicines, mostly chronic medicines, diabetic, cardiovascular medicines. We deliver diagnostic tests at home, and we do telemedicine. For the on-the-ground people, the 3,000 plus people who are doing this, it is incredibly important to feel safe. It's very hard for me, I think, even if there are 1 or 2 incidents, to get the rest of the people to come and work. Because what happens is there's fear that sets in. Today, by the way, we had a massive drop in attendance at our fulfillment centers and our delivery agents because of what happened. So it is really important, I think the police have a role to do. They have to make sure that the crowds are not there. But it is important not to be violent. It is important to check valid IDs. And it is important to let essential workers pass. Because If those three don't happen, then we can't deliver medicine. We do, by the way, medicines across 2,500 cities, right? We're the largest e-health player, the largest medicine delivery player in the country. And if we shut down, and we are trying really not to, right? I'm making sure operations remain, but we need to feel safe, and our end worker needs to feel safe, because otherwise, magically medicines are not going to appear in somebody's home.
No, but can you give us, Mr. Narayanan, some examples of how people must have been calling you up and saying, if this medication doesn't reach me, then it puts me in a life and death sort of situation?
Absolutely, Som. Firstly, by the way, our patients are also much older, Som. So we have almost 30% of our customers who are older than 50, 55, right? There is a lot of cardiovascular patients. There is a lot of diabetic patients, which is really important that we deliver their medicines on time. Unfortunately, over the last 4 or 5 days, we have not been able to deliver on time because we have faced a lot of the difficulties. On the ground, I think there are difficulties in last mile, and I think there are difficulties in the first mile, which I don't think people are speaking about yet, Som, but will come and hit us badly in the next 3 or 4 days. Which is, if I'm not able to get my medicines into my warehouse, I can't supply.
So now, in the last 24 hours or so, Anand, in your speaking to police forces or governments, has there been any positive response saying that this is not going to happen again?
So absolutely. I have to commend the police. I have to commend the government in terms of how responsive they've been. I've reached out to Delhi, Karnataka. We had a meeting at 7 p.m. where one of my colleagues was there with Mr. Bhaskar Rao. I think the government is incredibly responsive. I'll tell you a bit of where the issue is, Som. I think I completely agree with our Prime Minister on the lockdown and his message that the essential services need to be allowed. It's unfortunately a local subject. I think most police commissioners that you speak to are very for it and are saying exactly the right things and want to make it happen. The problem happens when one delivery agent meets one policeman and one person gets beaten. So it has to sort of come all the way down to the last mile. And I have to be able to 100% assure my people that no one is going to get hurt. No problem if they're stopped. No problem if they're checked. Although I would prefer to have them not. But no problem if that happens. But they cannot be violent, because then it's very hard for me, Som, to explain that to people. But that said, I would say in the last 24 hours, things are improving. I think the government, each of the states, we deliver in all the states, not just in Karnataka and Delhi. So we are in touch with the Rajasthan government, we're in touch with the UP government, we're in touch with the Northeast, because we're delivering medicines everywhere.
Right.
I must say the government is making all the right efforts. I think top down, there is a lot of commitment to solve the problems. I only wish that that commitment got translated in the next 1 to 2 days into on the ground reality 100% of the time.
Well, Anand Narayanan, we stand 100% by you as you share that message. Essential services like what you provide, it's the difference between life and death. You have something else to add? Yeah.
Yes. So I have one other thing, by the way, which is I think there is a big first mile problem. So our warehouses are in 30 cities, but our fulfillment centers, but our warehouses are in Bombay and Delhi. We have to get medicines from pharma companies into our warehouses, from our warehouses into our fulfillment centers. I think that is still an unsolved problem. We are working with the government, but my sincere appeal to the government would be, I think, 2 things. One, ensure safe passage of the last mile delivery agent so we can assure our people, get our people back to work and deliver. And second, we absolutely must allow first mile and interstate transfer for essential services.
Yeah, no, that's an absolutely essential point, Anand.
No inventory.
Unless you reach essential services across state borders, then it defeats the purpose at so many levels. There's only so much that you've got stocked up in your warehouses and in individual states. All right. Well, Anand Narayanan, CEO and co-founder of MedLife, thank you very much for speaking to us. Your message very, very loud and clear. Hopefully things will get better. Thanks very much indeed. Well, in the national capital, it is getting increasingly difficult for vegetable traders to ensure proper supply. While wholesale traders claim that trucks from other states are being stopped at the border by the police, small vendors claim that loaders are not being allowed to move within the city, forcing some vendors to walk with their carts to the wholesale mandis.
panic buying since the PM's announcement of a 21-day lockdown. But what happens when stocks at these shops run out? The supply chain for vegetables has been hit across Delhi. At wholesale markets like Mehrauli, Azadpur and Okhla, traders claim trucks are being stopped at state borders even though as per rules they are exempted.
पहले गाड़ी मेरी आती थी मैडम एक गाड़ी रोज की आती थी अब 3 दिन में एक गाड़ी आ रही है मैडम.
Traders at the Okhla wholesale market also say that supplies have been decreasing.
ट्रक तो काफी रोके जा रहे हैं, काफी ट्रक आनी नहीं दे रहे. अब तो बस 2 या 3 ट्रक आ रहे हैं, वरना 12-13 ट्रक आया करे. किसान परेशान है, फुल बहुत परेशान है किसान इस टाइम पे. क्या करे, मजबूर है किसान भी, पूरी फसल किसान की नष्ट हो रही है.
Moreover, the wholesale markets are being closed down at 12 p.m. every day by authorities to avoid overcrowding, while usually they remain open till 7 p.m. As a result of the supply chain getting affected, customers claim vegetables are more expensive now.
30 रुपए 20 रुपए गोभी मिल रहा था, आज 40 रुपए किलो गोभी है. मूली 40 बिक रहा है, 20 रुपए की 1.5 किलो 20 बिक रही थी, 40 बिक रहा है मूली.
Smaller retail vendors claim rickshaws and loaders which bring supplies from wholesale market to them are also being stopped on the way. 30-year-old Ram Kumar has been walking back and forth along the 4 kilometers from his shop to the Azadpur wholesale market.
मैडम अपना रिक्शा ही लेके जाते हैं ये वाला, और रिक्शे से भर के लाते हैं. सुबह जल्दी जाना होता है और रात को सुबह 6 बजे से पहले ले आए तो ठीक है, नहीं तो फिर पुलिस वाले ना अंदर जाने देते ना आने देते अंदर से.
At city stores of bigger retail chains, the stocks are emptying faster than usual.
पहले सर मैं 300 किलो पर डे के हिसाब से बेचता था, 12-15 हज़ार की दिल्ली की. अच्छा. अब 50 हज़ार की पर डे की बिक रही है, 700-800 किलो पर डे में. वो भी कम पड़ जाती है, दोपहर तक खत्म हो जाती है. ग्राहक इतना ज़्यादा आ रहा है.
Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal today assured that the government will ensure that food supplies do not get affected.
आपको मैं भी बैठा हूँ, एलजी साहब भी बैठे हैं, हमारे सारे सीनियर ऑफिसर्स यहाँ बैठे हुए हैं. हम सब लोगों ने पूरी तैयारी की हुई है. आपको मैं भरोसा दिलाना चाहता हूं कि आपको एसेंशियल सर्विसेज की कमी किसी हालत में नहीं होने देंगे. आपके इलाके तक सब्जी पहुंचाने की जिम्मेदारी हमारी है.
For now, the food stock at the bigger markets seems sufficient, but the administration will have to put in a lot of effort to ensure that in the upcoming days, the smaller vendors and consumers do not have to struggle for essential needs. In New Delhi with camera person Sudesh Kumar Ram, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
Well, what are some states doing as far as ensuring that citizens can actually have finances available to them in a situation when they're not allowed to leave their homes? The centre is yet to announce the full contours of the economic package. The Prime Minister spoke about a 15,000 crore rupee package yesterday, but hasn't really spelled out what it's supposed to be. The Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, has also said that there will soon be a nationwide package. But there are some states like Kerala which have already announced schemes which are underway. Kerala has a 20,000 crore financial package. They've announced financial help to fight the coronavirus. The package is for health, for loans and for welfare pensions. 2,000 crores for families in need. They'll be given loans. Free rice for all, and it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, for all for a period of 1 month. 50 lakh people will get social security pensions. Power, water bills, they can all be paid later on. We continue to track the COVID spread of the country, or across the country, and look at how it's being handled at so many different levels. One of the states which has done exemplary work in the fight against COVID-19 is the state of Kerala. As we try and look at what the centre may or may not do in terms of apportioning funds, sizable funds to fight this at the national level, let's also look, for example, at what Kerala has already done. We are joined at this stage by the Finance Minister of Kerala, Dr. Thomas Isaac. Thanks very much, sir, for being with us. 20,000 crore rupees is something which you have already apportioned in Kerala. How is that money being distributed? What exactly are the priority areas with that financial commitment?
Now, let me make it very clear. The state governments face a very hard budget constraint. You cannot independently borrow, you cannot, your source of funds are very limited. And therefore, what we have done is, we have front-loaded our permissible borrowing for the next year. We have permitted some 27,000 crores of market borrowing, of which we are going to take some 12,000 crores in the month of April itself. This plus certain expenditures from the cooperatives, NREGs, and also the additional borrowing by Kudumbashree self-help groups, that would total into 20,000 crores. So essentially what we have done is, the challenge now, everybody is quarantined in their houses, and therefore what is most important is that you put some money into the hands. They need to have their daily expenditures, no work there. So what do? How do you get the money into the hands? Our simplest income transfer scheme is old age pension and handicap pension, widow pension and so on. 55 lakh persons are entitled to 1,200 rupees per month. So we are going to pay them 6 months of pension payments at one go. So some 2,400 end of March, and then they would be paid rest of it before or around 15th of April.
One final question to you, Dr. Isaac. The lockdown across the nation, what are your views on that? And secondly, what the Prime Minister has said, that as an initial step, about 15,000 crores will be put away primarily for health, to shore up our health defenses. Your thoughts on these two moves, the lockdown and the initial amount which has been expressed?
Now, this is necessary. We wasted a hell of a lot of time having new solutions for COVID, like cow's urine therapy, or theories that summer is going to see a natural end to COVID epidemic, and so on and so forth. Now everything has been put to an end. That this is an epidemic which cannot be controlled in normal ways, and this is the only way, shutting down, that you can break the chain. That is the experience of Italy, that is the experience of Spain, China, and therefore nobody can protest it being done. But what I would protest is, now you are doing it all of a sudden. You should have made the preparations. 60% of the population consists of daily laborers, of how daily earnings. You just quarantine them, deny them the jobs. How are they going to survive? Therefore, minimum I expected from the Prime Minister was that along with this national lockdown, he would declare some things which are very simple. Okay, you provide free food to everybody. You have grain in your warehouses provided. Now, steps are being taken now for that. But secondly, what can be done was that you could have pushed some income transfer scheme, some money into the hands of every household.
Kerala's work has been exemplary so far, and I think if we can prevent the spread of coronavirus across the country, then we would win perhaps the battle of our lives. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Thomas Isaac, very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, a lot of what Kerala has done is laudable. There may be question marks on the effectiveness, but I think the overall plan and the fact that it was very proactively announced to try and get cash into the hands of citizens at a time of great distress is something many would welcome. In fact, there have been suggestions to this end as well. For example, the CII, the Confederation of Indian Industry, has suggested direct cash transfers. They have said that there could be direct cash transfers of 5,000 rupees into the accounts of adults earning under 5 lakh rupees a year, cash transfers for 10,000 rupees for those above 60 years of age, 20 crore people could get 10,000 each at a budget of 2 lakh crores, or 40 crore can get 5,000 each at a budget of 2 lakh crores. These are just very broad-based suggestions at a time when there is still no clarity on what the government aims to achieve. Joining us now, Jean Drez, visiting professor, Ranchi University. Dr. Drez, always a pleasure to speak to you. We are in the midst of perhaps the biggest challenge in our lives, and it's a battle for our lives. And I'm sure you would applaud the Prime Minister for ordering this lockdown. But there is a huge humanitarian tragedy which is unfolding in our midst. People unable to go home, people unclear about where they'll earn their next salary, people don't even know, have basic ideas in many cases of where they'll get their next meal. What needs to be done now on a nationwide basis to address some of these issues?
Vishnu, first of all, I don't think that the humanitarian crisis is unfolding. It's right there, right now, for poor people. Just to give you an idea of the level of despair, let me quote something I heard yesterday from a poor woman in Latehar district of Jharkhand, and it really broke my heart. She said, "I am willing to go hungry if there is no other way to fight this virus. But how do I explain this to my children?" So this is the level of desperation already right now. This woman's husband and son are both migrant workers. They are marooned thousands of kilometers away. They are themselves desperate. They would like her to send them money if possible. And of course, she has no resources herself. So it's right now. Now, without wasting further time, I would like to suggest a very simple 4-point plan of action, not exhaustive, but things that we can do right away that would bring huge relief to people. Because in Mr. Modi's speech yesterday, what was really missing is a relief plan. And without a relief plan, I don't think that this lockdown will serve the purpose. First of all, the food rations under the public distribution system, the PDS, should be perhaps doubled for an initial period of 3 months, bearing in mind that that system is in place, it's ready. There are ration shops in every village almost across the country. And the central government has huge idle food stocks. There have been huge food stocks now for almost 20 years. This is the time to use them. It won't even cost very much. So first of all, double the PDS rations without waiting. Initially for 3 months, you can do it for another 3 months after that, and you will still have more food than the official buffer stock norms. Number two, similarly, drastically raise the social security pensions and provide advanced pensions, maybe again for an initial 3 months, and then again 3 months after that. It would not be very expensive. And again, these pension schemes are in place under the National Social Assistance Program, so it can be done almost at the click of a button. Thirdly, there is a need also, I think, for a larger cash transfer program. Now there, one question, of course, is what should be the target group? And this is not an easy question to resolve. And we don't have time to do surveys and prepare new lists and so on and so forth. My preference, I think, would be to use the list of NREGA, National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, job cards as the starting point. I can give you 6 arguments in favor of that list, and we can come to that later if there is time. But I think something like that can be the base, and that will cover, along with pensions and the PDS, most poor people. And the 4th point, also very important, is community kitchens and relief camps in urban areas for migrant workers. There are millions of migrant workers who are stranded now across the country. They have lost their job. Many of them have not been paid. They don't have reserves. And they constitute a huge health hazard, not only from the point of view of coronavirus, but from the point of view of health generally. So I think as long as they're unable to go home, they have to be helped. The Delhi government has already taken the initiative in that respect, and it is needed across the country. So all this can be done very quickly, but it can happen only if the central government gives money. And I'm talking of a fair amount of money. We're talking of lakhs of crores of rupees. That can be done. the country had a huge windfall this year with the fall in oil prices, maybe something like 4 lakh crores of rupees or something. And the state governments don't have that sort of resources. It has to be done by the central government. The normal rules of fiscal prudence don't apply in a situation like this. We are talking of saving millions of lives. So the strings of the purse have to be opened, and very quickly.
I'm going to repeat a couple of those points because I think they're important points the government needs to look at. Food rations need to be doubled through the existing PDS scheme, at least for 3 months to start with, and then later we can decide. Use the buffer stocks which are available. Even if we do that, there would still be a buffer available. Raise social security pensions substantially. Larger cash transfers need to be initiated. What is the target group? That still needs to be answered, but it needs to be answered fast. And relief camps across the country for those who are migrant workers, other groups of workers as well who've been separated. Delhi has done that. So a couple of important points. I've got 4 points. You'd mentioned 5 actually. I've missed out one in my head.
The starter. This is not a comprehensive plan.
No, but I think this is a starting plan. And I think the point you're mentioning is at a time of fiscal prudence, this is not the time for that. This is the time for action, and it needs to be done now. I've got 4 of those 5 points of yours. I'll call you back for the 5th point because it makes a lot of sense. And I do hope, Professor Dres, that somebody is listening to what we are discussing. Thanks very much.
All this is in addition to health measures, of course.
Yes, of course. And one hopes that, and the Prime Minister spoke about this as well, that a large part of that 15,000 crores which he has put away would go towards ramping up our medical defenses.
15,000 crores is nothing.
I think 15,000 crores, Professor Dres, would be more in terms of the immediate acquisition of ventilators, the setting up of field care hospitals. And I think that would perhaps be sorted out through those funds. But it's not a health scheme of any sort. It's dealing with an emergency. Always a pleasure to speak to you, Professor Dres. Thank you very much for being with us. Well, millions of Indians are now at their home. That is what is required to, in effect, potentially save our lives. And a lot of people rely on the internet. They rely on digital streaming services. Netflix, for example, Prime Video, and a lot of other services. But this means that there is a tremendous impact on the digital infrastructure which exists in India. And so now there is a rule which has come into place, and this is going to disappoint a lot of people, but I think it's more important to have the infrastructure existing, that all companies from the digital industry have decided upon temporarily defaulting on HD and Ultra HD streaming to standard definition, which is SD content, or offering only SD content at bit rates no higher than 480p on cellular networks until the 14th of April. So on your cell phones, and I think the last bit is important, on your cell phones you're not going to get the same quality of HD streaming services. It'll be much lower, but perhaps the speed will go up. We've all noticed speeds coming down quite substantially. We're going to take a short break at this stage. There's a lot more coming up as we continue to track the impact of the COVID virus across India and the world. For the last several days, we've been looking at the role of the police as well as India fights COVID-19. Joining us now, the officer on special duty in Kasaragod in Kerala, Inspector General Vijay Sakre. Kasaragod is the district with the maximum number of cases. Thank you, sir, very much for being with us. What is the biggest challenge for you as you get about contact tracing? Given the number of cases, how much of a challenge has that been?
So we are facing 3 basic challenges. First is keeping the people indoors. Second one is ensuring that those people who are home quarantined, they remain inside their home and do not come out and infect others. And thirdly, providing assistance to all these people who are home quarantined. But I have been able to find solutions to all the 3 problems, and we have been very effective in this. But the most challenging problem, as you asked me, is to ensure that quarantined people remain home, quarantined all the time, and they do not come out. So for doing that, we have basically taken help of the technology in a big way, as well as the policing on the ground. By technology, I mean we have created a platform. In the front end, there is a WhatsApp popular platform. In the back end, our program runs. So through this particular app, we contact the people who are quarantined. We tell them the importance of quarantine and push them the educational videos, the precautions which they should take. And when these people need help, these people basically give us a message. We connect them with the doctor through a conference call, video conference call. We connect them with the hospital. So they are very anxious about knowing about the progress of their health. So once they talk to doctor, they become very assured. And this way, for example, in Kasaragod, we have 4,000 people who are home quarantined. We have been able to access all of them. So their concerns have been taken care of. But the most important part of this particular platform is it gives me the lat long of these people who are home quarantined, and it is with their consent. So in case they try to move out from their position, I get a message that this particular person is trying to move out or has moved out. So then we go and take action against him. We tell their families it is not safe for you to move away. And if you do that, we will be forced to take legal action against you. And we mount more physical surveillance on such people. So by doing this, the idea is for the first time in our life or in my life, we are fighting an enemy who is a virus. And as a police officer, preventing a virus from infecting others is the biggest challenge.
Now, my question is this: who made this app? Is it only applicable in Kasaragod or in other parts of Kerala? Have you shared it with other police forces? And is it mandatory for everybody who is in quarantine to download this particular app and use it?
Oh, very interesting question, Shom. This app has been developed by me principally with the assistance of a couple of my young officers, Navneet Sharma and Bhavesh Saxena. Incidentally, they are also IPS officers and happen to be doctors. And this particular platform, we call it as Swaraksha, that is your own protection. It is launched by me a week back, and we have brought in this, basically the facility of lateral detection yesterday only.
You're a police officer. You enforce the law. How did you get about this business of dealing with IT and tech and making apps, modifying apps, putting it up, and then getting these people to download it? You have some fabulous talents, and the other police officers you mentioned with you. Is this something that interests you? I'm fascinated that you, by yourself and your small team, have come up with this solution which works, which could be saving lives.
Oh, thank you so much, Vishnu. Actually, we have been doing this. As a Commissioner of Police, I have been doing these things. But at this particular point of time, the Honorable CM has flagged this issue that keeping people inside is very important. But at the same time, we have to address their concerns. For example, if a patient goes to doctor, infected person or a suspectedly infected person goes to hospital taking a taxi, imagine what kind of havoc he can create.
Sure.
First, we came up with a platform to access him. And later on, we told him we want to know your location so that we can help you. Right. And yes, in today's world, as you know, technology can be a multiplier. And there are several other such apps which we have developed, which I can discuss some other point of time.
No.
But right now, as I told you, the Honorable Prime Minister, sir, has told it yesterday, and our Honorable PM has said, and I feel this is the biggest fight of my life, wherein we have to ensure that virus remains with those infected people only, and we are able to protect others from virus.
Right.
So let us see. I hope we'll be able to succeed.
Well, Mr. Sakare, thank you very much for explaining to us that very innovative use of technology and keeping an eye on those who are under quarantine in Kasaragod, the area where you've been deputed to handle the largest number of quarantine cases, COVID cases in Kerala. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking to us.
Thank you, Sean. It was nice talking to you.